What's up YouTube? Today we're going to go over shifting the Atlas 4-speed transfer case and whether or not this case might be right for you. I'd like to thank Roger Cox for the video idea on shooting this video, and I'd also like to thank Chad Lloyd for pointing out to me some, I had some of the information in a previous video that I made on this transfer case backwards, and I said it so many times in the last video, I've decided to just go ahead and reshoot this video and correct that information, because anytime I give out technical information, I really want it to be as accurate as possible. So I appreciate it, Chad, for pointing that out to me. Remember, here at Adventure Every Mile, we do it right because we do it twice. Let's get after it. Okay, so let's just go over the basics of how this works. So here is our manual transmission shifter for, the AX15. This is the shifter for the rear axle, shifter for the front axle, and this one up here is a shifter for the planetary. Now this Atlas transfer case has a high range of 1:1 and a low range of 3.8:1. And then the planetary's range reduction is 2.72:1. So how it basically works is, if you pull these levers back, you'll be, both of these levers, because each lever controls one axle. So one lever, you pull it back, and then you will be in four-wheel drive 1:1. If you pull the planetary shift lever into low range, then you take that reduction of 2.72 and you multiply it by your 1:1, which gives you 2.72:1. If the planetary is in high range and you put your shift levers all the way forward so that you're in four-wheel drive low, then it's 3.8:1, which is similar to the Jeep Rubicon's 4:1. If you pull the planetary lever into low range, you take that 2.72:1 low range and you multiply that reduction by your 3.81 or whatever reduction, and it gives you 10.336 or whatever, or 10.34:1. And that is how the Atlas produces 4 different speeds. And so let's go ahead and do some shifting here. I have to roll just a little bit to get this thing to do. This is four-wheel drive 1:1, so what I'm going to do now is show you how fast that speed is. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is, Advanced Adapters recommends that you're in neutral and at a complete stop when you shift the planetary. So we're going to reach down here. And now we'll take our 2.72 to reduction and multiply it by 1:1, and that gives us 2.72:1. So now let's do that speed. And this is just idle in first gear. Go back to neutral. So now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and I'm going to get it into low range, 3.8:1. So we're going to just put that in neutral. I'm going to roll a little bit actually to do this. And now I'm in four-wheel drive, 3.8:1. Let's do that. Moving a little slower. And now I'm actually going to go ahead and pull the planetary again. Okay, so now we have 2.72 times 3.81 or 3.8 or whatever this is, and That's going to give us our lowest reduction of 10.34 to 1. Okay, so that is shifting the Atlas 4-speed transfer case. Now, I'd like to talk a few reasons why I chose this transfer case for me and why I feel like it's a pretty good choice for a lot of people, especially if you have a manual transmission. So, because I have a manual transmission and I had the original transfer case, which was a 272, the MP231, just the regular stock transfer case, there were a lot of times where I found myself trying to slow down over obstacles, and so I'm using the clutch, you know, like letting it out and working the gas and basically letting the clutch slip to try to slow the Jeep down going over obstacles, because I don't want to just, you know, punch into an obstacle. And so here's a clip of a video of me at Lazy Springs, and all I'm doing is going over some telephone poles that were kind of buried in the ground, but the very last one had kind of a big drop off and kind of a big climb. It just, they look like speed bumps in the video, but in person, you know, the last part was a little bit difficult to get over, and I did not want to slam into it. And so you can see what that faster crawl ratio looks like. Okay, so now at the same park, when I went back after I'd done my axle stretch and put the Atlas in, let's look at the video of me going up the stair climb, but in my 10.34 to 1 crawl ratio, no lockers on, and just working the throttle barely even off idle. So what this transfer case has allowed me to do is get a lot of off-road drivability out of my Jeep. I have 410 gears in the Jeep, which are, you know, some people might say for off-roading are pretty tall. But because of this transfer case, being able to select, you know, 3 different low ranges and be able to control how fast the Jeep is going, it really gives you a lot of flexibility off-road, and it helps you to not break as much stuff because you don't have to go, you know, sending it over an obstacle or into something or bouncing it off of something as much. Now, you know, I know that sometimes when it's raining and it's wet, you can't help it, but for the most part, you know, what is it, as slow as possible, as fast as necessary. And so that's kind of the motto that I take when I go off-roading. And I'm not a huge, you know, peg the rev limiter kind of guy. I don't really have any interest in that, and I don't like, you know, pegging it through the mud either, because I don't like to have to clean up after mud. I really like rock crawling or crawling over something really slow, and so this transfer case really gives me the ability to select how fast I want to go over something. And with the addition of the air lockers, it's been great. I haven't had any problems yet out of my Dana 30 at all. So hopefully it holds out until I can swap to some bigger axles and go 40s. But until then, this is just how I'm gonna ride it out, and you know, I have every tool that I need to fix anything in the axle, so if something, besides bending it, if something else goes wrong, I figure I'll be pretty good to fix it. So anyway, that is shifting an Atlas 4-speed. If anybody has any other questions about that or anything else, I love Jeeps and love to have conversations with anyone in the Jeep community for as long as you want. Thanks guys, and have a great day.